Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a single watch, a Bovet 1930 Fleurier. This is it right here. At first I thought, well, not the best idea just to look at a single watch, but then I realized there must be 1,000 videos on uh, Patek Philippe Calatrava or a Rolex Sub and or a Omega Speedmaster. So they're so I thought, well, wait a minute, heck, well, why not? All right, so well, we're going to talk about this today. And a couple of years ago, Bovet decided to say they were going to try something. It was sort of interesting. They're a very, very high-end watchmaker. Now, they had something called the Sportster that wasn't high-end in a lot of ways. And it's not a bad sports watch, but it wasn't the kind of really great high horology that, and everything else that goes into it that Bovet was known for. Now, they did a lot of stuff, and they still do. They do a lot of stuff of bespoke, where you have somebody comes in, this is what they want, and they'll make it for them. And Bovet had a rebirth in 2000 as Pascal Raffi took it over, and what he wanted to do, he wanted to bring back the very best of Bovet, and he reached all the way back to 1822. In fact, he renamed the company Bovet 1822 when Bovet first started making these wonderful watches. They took them to China. The first four they had, I think they sold for $1 million. I mean, it was an incredible way to start a watch business. Okay, so what he wanted to do, he wanted to recreate that, and he created two things. One, he got all of the production facilities, all of these things, including a castle that used to belong to the original Bovet, and in and around a town called Fleurier in Switzerland. Parmigiani, among others, are also made in Fleurier. And then he put together the something called Demier, which was a movement company. And what he did, he brought together all of these other companies. It is something like the vertical integration that Parmigiani did, except Bovet was much closer. They were owned by Raffi and Bovet. Okay, so they decided, well, what they needed was something that was sort of a classy watch that really said Bovet. And one of the things that Bovet is known for is making these watches that were a conversion between the pocket watch and a wristwatch, and this occurred around 1930. It was a lot of different things involved, but the the characteristic or the main feature was this bow and crown. There were a lot of different conversions that people did with pocket watches to make them wristwatches. Well, what they decided to do was that they weren't too sure because these were supposed to be their entry-level models. The other ones, they were up 30, 40, and then way up above that, thousands of euros. So they said, okay, so we're going to come out with something, one that is sort of like very much Bovet, and they're going to call it the 1930 Fleurier. And then we're going to have another one that pretty much uses the same movement and everything else, except we're going to take the movement and turn it sideways and change the dial somewhat, and we're going to put on standard lugs. Now, when I first saw that, that was the one I liked. I thought, oh boy, I'm going to get a Demier, and I thought that would be really cool. The problem is that somebody pointed out, say, hey, if you're going to get a Bovet, you might as well get something that looks like a Bovet. I thought, yeah, that's right. And so I went down and I tried it on at the Bovet boutique in New York City, and eventually I ended up with my own Bovet. Okay, so let's talk about this. And the this is mine. I took a close up, well, not exactly close up, but a little closer picture of it, and it really is a beautiful watch. It has the circular Geneva curves, and then it's got the uh, power indicator, power reserve indicator on one side, and then sort of a balancing half disc on the other side. And then at the top there's that bow and crown. So it's, as you can see, it's pretty easy to tell the time with this watch. Sometimes if the light's wrong, but that's true with any watch, it'll sort of goofy. Okay, so let's take a closer look at it. By the way, too, they have a system. It's called the Amero System, I think, something like that, at Bovet. And some years ago, I think it was back in the 30s, they invented this thing. You could take your watch apart and make it into a pocket watch. And then they had a little stand they pulled up, and you could use that. So they have that again today. But those are, you're talking something well north of what the entry level is on your 1930. Okay, so I just put it on the desktop, and hey, it works great though too. You just put it there and look at it, and it's great. Okay, well, enough of that. But you can see it's a fairly versatile watch, and it has the three main functions. At the top, it's got this big hour and minute, and underneath it says 1930, Bovet 1822, and it just, the lettering of the numbers are unique, and I'm not quite sure what kind of thing. They're clearly an art deco, and they're not art nouveau. I'm not sure what they are, but they're nice and clear. And then on the subdial, the second hand, as you can see, it has 7 jours, which means 7 days, which means that you wind it up and it lasts 7 days. I am now on day 6 of the wind. Today is Thursday, and I had wound it on Saturday, so we'll see what happens. Okay, and the second hand is a good size. You can see it. It's upside down here, but here's the sub-seconds. It's not one of those little bitty ones. You can clearly see that. So, yeah, I don't know what you might want to use a second hand for, but you can see it at least. Okay, let's go on. The two main features, other than the time and the second hands, are you have on the left side, you have this little thing that in French is translated as made by masterful hands. And it does nothing. All right, you can actually, that's some movement that you can see through the bottom of it. All right. And anyway, if I say de mains, de maestres, my French is so bad, and I love French, and I like to say it right, so sometimes it's better off not to say it, but I try. Okay, now the power reserve indicator is on the right side, and you can see it's pretty clear. You've got those two big triangles, and then you have the plus and the minus. The plus means it's nice and wound up, and the minus means you're running out of power on it. And it has one of my favorite little ditties to serve the punctual gentleman. What do they say? Punctuality is the courtesy of the king. I'm big on time. I really am. Okay. And by the way, too, this has a very much of a French flavor. It is Swiss, but there's a lot of French flavor to it. Geneva. It's not far from. I think, in fact, parts of it are made in Geneva and parts of it are made in Fleurier. Okay. Well, how does this thing hold on to the dial or to the case? And it's pretty simple, really. Here you have the bow and the crown, and the crown comes around and holds onto the strap here. And then at the bottom you have you can see it there at the bottom. It's called a bar lug. And so the bar lug at the bottom and the bow and crown lug, I guess you call it, at the top work. Now, how do you take it off? Now, here's where where I may be in trouble, because I just ordered another strap for it. I always like to have a backup strap. This one, it comes in blue, and so I thought, well, it'd be nice to have a brown one with it too, so I can, something happens, I can put it on. But I said, well, how do you change? Oh, he says, just bring it in. Well, it's a 3-hour trip to New York City to put it on, so I'll have to. What I'll probably end up doing is that I'll be looking for the tools to do it with. I was told you could do it with needle nose pliers, and there's probably some local watchmaker in this area that I can find that would do it. But for something like taking on and off a band is something especially an interesting one. I can do it very easily with the FP yarns. They just have a little pop off. Okay, so that's the bow and crown, and then at the top of the crown there's a sapphire. So it's a very, like I said, this is an extremely pretty watch. All right, now when we flip it over, you can see the movement, and the most important thing about seeing the movement is that movement fills up the case. Okay, it's a 42 millimeter case with a 35 millimeter, well, actually 35.5 millimeter movement inside. And so you figure that every side has about, let me see, that would be about 2.5 meters around each side. So that's not a lot of room left, but it's great because the bigger the movement, the more room you have to work. Now, this thing has got a 7-day power reserve. And for 7 days, you need a big barrel. And if you use every inch of the watch and also use the shape of the watch, and round is the most typical, of course, you can get 7 days out of it. So anyway, that's one of the things. And the depth is not. It's not a super thin watch, but it's not thick either. The first time I put it on, I was surprised how comfortable it was. I thought, boy, this is, 42 inch, not inch, but 42 millimeter watch is a good size watch. And I thought, oh boy, with that and with the bow and crown, this thing is going to be awkward. And hasn't been a bit. That's one thing I'm very glad to report. All right, let's go on now. The movement, this is one of this is one of the most idiosyncrasies. The caliber is a Bovet caliber 15BM04. Okay. Now, on the back it says in this gold lettering, caliber 1930. Okay. What I think it is that the movement was made specifically for this watch. In other words, it wasn't, they said, well, let's see what we got on the shelf and we'll throw something together. No, they said, let's start from scratch on this thing, and they came up with a beautiful, beautiful movement. Going around the top, right down the middle, it looks like a little river that separates the, either those are giant bridges or plates, take your choice. And the first one says 35 jewels. Below that is the 7 jewel. And then there's one thing that's sort of it's the cutout for the click spring right there, and you have the little meandering cut in the middle, and then you have those circular Geneva waves around there, and then you have the cutout for the spring click. That's okay. Now, at the bottom, you can see a symmetry between the center wheel and the balance wheel, center on the right, the balance wheel on the left. And then at the bottom, there's the bridge is an unusual bridge with sort of the circles right into the logo from from Bovet. And then right above it, it says Bovet 1822. It has some other gears in there. the ones that they have the underneath there, where you have the bridge, or that particular bridge. Then you have the third wheel, the fourth wheel, and then you have the center wheel, and you have the center wheel cock, and it says adjusted in 6 positions. It says it in French off of the center wheel. Okay, now what I thought I would do is that in order to really get a good look at the balance wheel and some of the other things around there, I'd take the sort of a bigger picture. Now this is this is the resolution that Bovet provided. That's a very high resolution, and you can even see that in the spokes of the wheel, of the balance wheel, there's beveling. Such amazing kind of attention to detail. Now the regulator is a lot different than the usual ones you see. Usually there's a little stick. Here there's just that blued screw, and you can see it. You can turn it to the right for a little faster, to the left for a little slower, and then you have underneath that is the balance spring, the hairspring, and if you sort of go down, you can see the beneath on the bottom. You can see the escape wheel. The escape wheel, you can tell the escape wheel because it has those, I don't know, they almost look like these barbed wire edges on the thing. So, and what the escape wheel does is that it lets the spring escape. If there wasn't an escape wheel, the spring would go boing. You wind it up. So it needs an escape wheel to regulate the amount of release of the main spring that you can have. Now you got something going for 7 days. This has got to be done just right. Now it uses a pallet fork, and on the pallet fork, you can see on the end of the pallet fork, you have these little red pallets, which are ruby pallets. You can see some other of the ruby fasteners and so forth that are in there. But like I said, even up close, in the movement, you can see the care and the detail. Now the thing about this is all stainless steel. A lot of people said, "Oh, all of their other stuff is gold and white gold and platinum," and so here they're gonna make make one out of stainless steel. So how's that gonna look? Well, you can see it looks pretty good. All right. So that's pretty much it. Now it doesn't have a lot of complications or anything. It just has the hour and minute, the second, and then the power reserve indicator, and that's it. But it's a kind of watch that has its own presence to it. I mean, it's oftentimes Vacheron, Constantine are considered to be good watches because they sort of have a quiet elegance. This one, like, I think if this is in the French Revolution, they had chopped off this one's head. This has got a royal presence to it. And even the details on it, the things I like so much, even the buckle on the back there, you can see that's all nicely done and all kinds of details. And then there's another shot of the power reserve indicator I took this morning, which this is at the beginning of the 6th day. So I feel pretty good about this guy going all 7 days, and I look forward to it. Okay, now a couple big things. Sunday we're having the results of the first winner of the Grand Prix pick watch. Okay, the person who has the most watches, except for the what's it called, the Aiguille d'Or. In other words, the grand prize, because they have to be accepted in a category first before they can be a grand prize. So we're going to leave the grand prize out. But in all of the other main categories, if you have the most watches that made the pre-selected, you're going to win a free watch. Now, if they're ties, the person who who was earlier is going to get the prize. Okay, so Sunday, I look forward to seeing you again. We're going to cover the outcome, obviously, of the Grand Prix awards of the first part of it, the pre-selected ones. And I hope to see you then. Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. And please, please, your comments are so neat. I love your comments. So be sure to include a comment, and of course, if you're welcome to subscribe.